Greg. Thanks so much for doing this.
My pleasure, Leah.
All right, well, let's just start at the beginning. Tell us, what is an ecosystem studio?
Well, I think we could start by defining it through a concept that people might be a bit more familiar with. And that is that when people think about how companies are funded in the beginning, we think about venture capital, which is the injection of capital into a company to support its growth. Venture studios is a different version of this, where instead of, or in addition to capital being injected into a company, the studio co-creates with the founders in the early stages of the company. And so the ecosystem studio is one step further, because the venture studio really only allows us to work with a handful of companies at best. That's what you would normally see. And we're in a situation where what we would like to see is the entire ecosystem of companies start to grow, which means that we want to be able to create opportunities for the companies to be interacting with each other and actually contributing to the foundational aspects of the ecosystem that supports their growth and the growth of other companies.
Okay. So why did we think that we had to create something like this specifically for the Alberta innovation ecosystem?
Well, I think partly there's two reasons here. One is that there is a pressure that we have to deal with in Alberta, which is a rapidly shifting economy. And it's pretty clear to us that even today, there's not really a full appreciation for how quickly things are shifting and the things that we've depended on becoming less stable. And so when we looked at this, we said, we can't really afford to follow an incremental path. We can't just say, well, let's add a couple of companies a year or 5 companies a year. We need to find a way to cause a much larger acceleration, generate a faster foundation of diversity in companies, and start connecting them to each other to start to create sort of the conditions that are required for companies to be successful, working with each other, not independently. So that's the really one specific local reason. And it's tied to the second reason, which is more generally as a principle. We know that if we can create ecosystems of ventures, that the overall success of the ventures goes up. And we've seen that in other parts of the world.
Right, right. So it's this idea of supporting a whole bunch of ventures and the ecosystem, and then allowing them to support each other and spin out other companies and attract talent and create this lovely, thriving innovation ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is. And it's about the conditions for growth, right? So there are things that we want to see grow. There are certain other things that we don't want to see grow, extractive kinds of practices and everything else. But if we can create the conditions at an ecosystem level, then we can be sure that there's going to be a higher level of success for individual ventures as well as collectively as an ecosystem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we also talk a lot about impact as well. So I guess by extension, then we're creating a whole bunch of impact as well.
Yeah, exactly. So just like the impact in terms of the things that need to grow, we need to do things that are going to be improving life for humans, both locally and globally. And so the ventures who can make those contributions, we should all want those ventures to have the maximum amount of impact possible. And this is, a really root concern for us, is to make sure that that's the case. And then locally, just on the economic level, the impact that we require is a large number of ventures being quite successful, so that it generates employment opportunities for people, has reputational impacts on the city and the province, that puts us in a really good position to occupy the future. And that is, the core of the whole mission. Absolutely.
So in an ideal world, what would we hope to achieve with this ecosystem studio?
What we would hope to achieve is two things. One is within sectors, so say in health or planet kind of approaches, that we would see chains of organizations interacting with each other to produce opportunity for themselves and for each other, and to fertilize the soil, so to speak, so that there's lots of opportunities for other ventures to join them. So that's within sectors. And then the really exciting opportunity, if that's not exciting enough, which I think it is, but the really exciting opportunity is cross-sectoral. There are so many things that we can learn from ventures operating in one sector that become quite transferable in unexpected ways to ventures in other sectors. And so if we're really successful at creating this richness within sectors, we can also create this richness across sectors. And I mean, really, that's where the creativity comes from. That's why diversity is so important. If we have diversity, it drives creativity. It allows people and the founders and the people inside ventures to see the world in ways that they hadn't seen it before. And that's the thing that's going to create these breakthrough opportunities for us as a local ecosystem, but also, as you were talking about, the sort of global human impact.
Yeah, terrific. Well, it's an exciting step forward, that's for sure. Greg, thanks so much for this.
My pleasure. Thanks, Leah.